You believe that Danielle is a woman. You believe that I am a woman.
I believe, like she said,
Yeah.
she's a trans woman.
Okay.
And she made it very clear that they understand the difference. But if someone
What
like,
is the difference? That's what I'd like you to answer, AJ.
And that's the question, isn't it? What is the difference between a woman and a trans woman? Hi, my name is Margaret Mordahl. Welcome to my channel Virtue Lies in the Middle, where we discuss current topics and try to remain as balanced as possible. Today, I'm going to be reacting to clips of a debate between Candace Owens on the one side and Ray J and a transgender actor named Danielle Alexis on the other. Ray J, who is a singer, songwriter, and producer, reached out to Candace to have a discussion about transgenderism after an interview she did with Don Lemon, where she described transgenderism as a mental disorder. Let's get into it.
So, Ray J, I want to ask you this because you have young children, I have young children. And I'm glad, Danielle, that you were very honest about the fact that your mother told you that when you were 4, you said this and had done some things. And so she kind of says this was always there.
Yeah.
Because I have young children and I know how stupid kids are, and I say that with all love in my heart, but they say ridiculous things all the time. And one of the things that's been concerning to me is to hear so many celebrities try to, I guess, validate the stupidity of children and pretending and going, well, this must be real. Most notably, what comes to mind, I believe Charlize Theron had a daughter or a son, but the story goes one day in the bathtub, my son or daughter looked up at me and said, "Mommy, I'm a girl," and that was it. That Charlize Theron then allowed her child to begin transitioning, and that to me sounds like a mental disorder that the parent is suffering for some reason. And a lot of the times I've noticed this trend that it does tend to be single women that sort of encourage this thing. So I'd like to ask you if you have a son
and a daughter.
and your son's how old?
My son's 4.
Okay, he's 4. Perfect age.
My daughter's 6.
If your son was in a bathtub and your son said anything in the bathtub, "Dad, I'm a mermaid," why would you then say, well, this must really mean that my 4-year-old toddler, who also thinks he can fly, who also thinks like Santa Claus is real and can squeeze down the chimney, why is it this thing that people go, oh, well, this must be a sign that my child's really struggling with identity?
Ray J goes on here to give a pretty incoherent answer to Candace's question, so I didn't bother to include it. But Candace makes a very valid point here, one that is made by a lot of people who don't agree with transgenderism. Namely, a child can't even pick out what clothes they're going to wear in the morning, and we're going to let them pick out their gender. I have a personal story here, one that I was given permission to share by my sister. So a while back, I was reading through my sister's old diaries, with her permission, of course, and I came across a passage that she had written when she was about 13 or 14 years old. And in this passage, she described how her whole life she wanted to be a boy. She wanted to be a boy so badly. She didn't understand why she was made or born a girl, because she felt like she would be a better boy. She would go to bed at night and cry because she wanted to be a boy. She didn't understand why God had made her be a girl. And then in this passage, she goes on to describe how a priest came to our parish and gave a conference about the importance of womanhood and its beauty and its sacredness. And because of that conference, my sister wrote, that priest will never know what a great thing he did for me. Because of that conference, she embraced her femininity and her womanhood, and she never looked back or wanted to be a boy again. So obviously this is a personal anecdote and everyone's situation is different. But I think this story highlights the fact that any child, even one raised in a highly unproblematic 2-parent household, can struggle with self-identity. In fact, I think this is pretty normal. There has probably never been a time in history where the battle of the sexes has been so contentious. Think red pill men hating on women and feminists hating on men. And so children need to be told about the importance and the beauty of their sex, rather than having any confusion or dismay that they might be experiencing affirmed. Sometimes all it takes is a few wise words, and the suffering of a lifetime can be avoided.
So I'm going to cut to you, Ray J, because we've all been 17 before. We've all been teenagers. I would almost say that you could qualify the teenage experience as just an identity crisis, like one long identity crisis. You're trying to figure out literally who you are.
Yeah.
That is what adolescence is. And that's why I say, quite jokingly, but kind of also seriously, bring back cigarettes, because now there are just been an explosion of children who think they're non-binary, think they're transgendered. No matter how you estimate it, you know that there were not this many people that were struggling, and like they didn't all become transgendered. And so it is part of this is becoming a contagion, social contagion,
You
which
think?
is
But to piggyback over that point, I also want to make a statement that as a trans person myself, I'm shocked sometimes because I see all these people now that are under the trans umbrella, and I say the trans umbrella because that shocks me sometimes, where they're like, I'm trans, and I will see them in public, like hiking, presenting as a boy with a beard. And I'm shook
So you would
because
say
it's like, that's not me.
so they're not
And
being transparent.
Here, Candace and Danielle are agreeing that not everyone who says they are transgender are being honest. Candace calls it a social contagion, meaning that young people are saying that they're trans because they see it on social media, they're doing it for clout, they're doing it because it's trendy, not because they have actual gender dysphoria. Where Candace and Danielle disagree is that Candace seems to be saying that all people who call themselves trans are doing it because it's popular, and Danielle disagrees. I'm inclined to agree with Danielle here. Even listening to his life story, it's clear that he wasn't doing this because it was popular, because he didn't even know what the word transgender meant. He didn't even have that word in his vocabulary. He was just following what he felt. So I would say that although the majority of cases are due to this social contagion, there are a very small minority of people who do suffer from gender dysphoria.
Look good, smell good, whatever. But at home, no makeup on, hair up in a bun is giving woman, is giving what it is.
okay. So
It's not a costume for
You
me.
genuinely believe that you're a woman.
100%. Do I think I'm a born female biological woman? Absolutely not. I'm a trans woman, and I'm well aware that I'm not a biological woman. And I want to make that statement very loud.
That's a good
because that's where it gets crossed, and where I think trans people need to come to the table is understanding that and letting biological women know that we're well aware we're trans women, and if people are out there saying anything otherwise, that's something that I don't want to back.
right.
Because
so now,
that's
now
not
we're
my
bridging the gap.
experience.
Right.
Now we're bridging the gap, Candace.
You believe that Danielle is a woman. You believe that I am a woman.
I believe, like she said,
Yeah.
she's a trans woman,
Okay.
and she made it very clear that they understand the difference. But if
What
somebody
is the difference? That's what I'd like you to answer, AJ.
Props to Danielle for clearly stating that there is a difference between biological women and trans women. Many people today are not so honest about that. However, when Candace asks Ray J, what is the difference? He has no clear answer to that question because there's no answer he can make. The word woman has no meaning at this point if you agree that there's a difference between trans women and biological women, but you can't state what that difference is.
Anybody can decide what they are when they want. They can say, I'm a different race. I'm transracial. I'm transsexual. I'm transgendered. Then eventually and very quickly, we will wind up at people saying that, and there have been examples of this, people saying that they're actually a different age. So you have a 60-year-old man, but it's not funny because this is real. But this is real.
I know,
You have
'cause I'm
a
18.
60-year-old man who is saying that he self-identifies as a 13-year-old, and these people go and they commit acts of pedophilia. This has happened.
And this, I think, is the real crux of the matter. The big rallying cry today is don't trans the kids, which is great. However, transgenderism in adults should not be accepted by society either. Real gender dysphoria is a mental disorder and should be treated as such with non-affirming therapy and support. So many people today say live and let live with regards to transgender adults. The attitude is, if it doesn't hurt anyone, let people do what they want to do. However, it is this attitude which has got us to where we are today. Transgender adults may not hurt anyone outright, but the transgender ideology is an attack on society and an attack on truth. It is the beginning of a slippery slope which has the potential to completely destroy our society if left unchecked. For this reason, I'm inclined to agree with Michael Knowles on this one.
Transgenderism must be eradicated from public life entirely.
That's all I have for you today, folks. I hope you enjoyed the video and maybe learned a little something. I'll see you in the next one.